Doug MPA back with another video. Guys, look at this headline. Here it is. 1 in 3 Seattle residents is considering leaving. Costs and crime are to blame. I've said this on all my other Seattle, Portland videos. Doug MPA grew up in Western Washington. I had a great childhood, great place to live, had a lot of fun in all these cities, and to see headlines like this really pisses me off. And I've been back to Western Washington a couple times since I left in 2010. And don't get it twisted, guys. Everything you see in the news about Seattle, Portland is true. Everything you see. The sad state of these cities, the homelessness, the drugs, the crime. I don't know what it's going to take for city and state legislators to do something about it. And if you ask me, there's no point in living in Washington, Oregon, or California. Move if you can. So let's get into this article. Before I do that, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. It shows you supporting me, what I'm doing over here. And as always, and on my Seattle, Portland, California videos, if you live in any of these areas, put your stories in the comments. You know, are you seeing what I'm seeing or what these articles are seeing? Do you see something different? Make sure to put it in the comments, okay? This is July 6th of 2023. It says, as home prices and public safety worries remain elevated, 1 in 3 Seattleites are considering leaving the Emerald City, according to a Seattle Times Suffolk University poll. About 33% of Seattle residents surveyed said they were seriously considering moving out of the city. 67% said they were not. The poll of 500 residents was conducted by phone from June 12th to 16th and has a margin of error of 4.4 percentage points. So 500 residents is kind of a small group, but hey, we got to take the data that we can get. Among the residents who say they're considering leaving, 37% blamed rising housing costs and 34% cited public safety as a primary reason for moving. Remember, guys, Seattle's homelessness is out of control. Seattle still has a methamphetamine problem and fentanyl problem. Seattle wanted to defund the police. Public safety concerns. What do you think was going to happen? Reasons for moving were also closely tied to income levels and home ownership. Overall, renters, 44% were more likely than homeowners to consider moving out. Respondents with lower incomes, especially those earning less than $20,000, were more likely to blame soaring Seattle home prices for motivating them to move. How do you live in Seattle for $20,000 or less? How's that possible? I'd like to ask them that. How do you live here making less than $20,000 unless you live with your mom and dad? Meanwhile, public safety was the main concern among respondents in the highest household income bracket, those earning over $250,000 a year. These residents were also more likely to be homeowners than renters. I mean, of course, look at that income. Those wanting to move, 80% rated Seattle Portland as a place to live, and 66% said they did not feel safe in the neighborhoods. In comparison, among the 2/3 of Seattleites who did not consider leaving, 88% rated the city as excellent place to live. Okay, this is important. In the last 3 years, costs in the Seattle metro area climbed 20%. Before the cough, it took 9 years for the cost to grow that much. Guys, I remember back when Seattle was an affordable place to live. This was before Amazon bought up half the city. And one of the biggest, if you're not from there, guys, I-5 is the only major highway from Bellingham on the border near Canada all the way down to Portland. So they have these I-5 cities: Fife, Tacoma, Kent, Mount Lake Terrace. And those have swollen because people can't afford to live in Seattle, so they live on one of the I-5 corridor cities. So you have to pick your poison. Do you want to pay a bunch of money to live in Seattle and not commute, or do you want to pay a little less and live in Kent or Fife, but then you're stuck on I-5? There's only one major highway going all the way up from Bellingham all the way down to Portland, and it's absolutely miserable. Meanwhile, the Seattle metro area's home price index is now 40% higher than in 2018 and 50% in 2022. I said this in another video, guys. Why are people buying houses right now? Why? Tell me why. Give me one good reason why you would buy a house in this market when home prices are up 40% over 2018 and 50% in 2022. This is crazy. It's crazy. In the past 2 decades, King County's middle-class residents moved more frequently than those in any other income group. Of course, because let's say you're renting a house, a condo, or a apartment, or a house. You're middle class. Each time your lease is up, they're going to raise your rent up $300-400, or $500 because the cost of living goes up. And what can you do? About 65% of residents consider leaving said the city's ability to make progress on homelessness has gotten worse, and 60% rated the quality of education as poor. Wow, that's kind of a shock. Along party lines, Republicans 53% were more likely than Democrats 24% to express a desire to move out of the city. Phoenix and Spokane are the top destinations for Seattle residents moving out of the region, shows data from Redfin. Yeah, the only problem with Phoenix is that they're still running out of water. And then Spokane, if you guys aren't familiar with Washington State, the east part of the state and the west part of the state are just completely different cultures, guys. The eastern part of Washington might as well be Idaho, and there's a small movement for Eastern Washington to break away from Western Washington, because Eastern Washington is more conservative, but that's never going to happen. So it's going to be interesting, just like how Austin had a whole bunch of California people move there, and all the Californians are trying to change the culture of Austin. It's going to be interesting if people start migrating out of Washington State en masse to Phoenix and Spokane, what that's going to do to the local politics and all that stuff. So anyway, guys, I don't blame people for wanting to leave Seattle. You know, my hometown. You know, I have friends who live there in Washington, and they post all these videos of homeless people, and you know, you can't even run downtown anymore because there's homeless people on drugs everywhere. And what are people supposed to do? And imagine you're paying all this money to live in Seattle and deal with crime and homelessness. Ain't happening. So I'm gonna stay on top of this story. Next time something like this comes up, I'll make sure to cover it. Make sure to leave your experiences in the comments. Do you agree or disagree? Like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.